like to recognize Vice President James Morales, who's joining us here today. He's the VP of Student Affairs, and we are excited that he's attending with us, and we'll be hearing from him fairly soon. So, usually the student body president conducts this, and also traditionally we start off with somewhat of an advice to the incoming group. So the first part of this event, this evening, I'll be going over my advice to the incoming president and also the rest of the officers that are coming in, but mostly addressed to the officers. So I'll start off with my words of wisdom, I guess, of things that I've learned, and then I will be happy to turn the time over to James Morales, and then we'll proceed from that point on. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, my name is Sami Ahmed, and I have been the student body president here for 2 years. And when I was asked what I would like to speak about and give advice to the incoming officers, I thought of a couple things, but I decided to just kind of go for it and just kind of share things out of my heart and from the things that I've seen from my time. So, for those of you who know me, I love quotes, and I love talking and using quotes. So I think I might use several quotes in this, maybe 3. But I just feel like, when you find that quote that delivers the message in just a precise way, it speaks a lot more than a lot of words or a long speech. So I think I'll use some. There's some I like that are my favorite, funny ones. I'm sure some of you know Mark Twain, and he talked about, God created war so Americans can learn geography. I think that's a funny quote that gives humor, but some of the ones I'll talk about are more serious in nature. Okay, so my first advice to incoming officers is be yourself. When you come into this office, or whatever office you're taking in, you're taking over, there's a lot of pressure to act a certain way or even carry on what your predecessors have done. The most important thing you need to remember is just make sure that you have the right effort and you have the right passion, and everything else will work out. Don't feel the pressure of what those before you have done. Don't feel the pressure of what others around you expect. If you're giving it your best, things will work out. Success will always come. So that's my first advice. The second one is when you become an officer, you gain a lot of privileges. You gain a lot of access. And it's pretty soon you start thinking that you are different from the rest of the student body. And I caution you not to think in that way. One of my favorite quotes was given by Frederick Douglass, and this one is pertaining to slavery, but there's a greater message that we can all carry on. And he talks, in his quote, he says, "There's not a man under the canopy of heaven who doesn't know that slavery is wrong for him." And the point is, every one of us know that something is wrong for us, that we are okay imposing on others. So in his case, he was talking about how slave owners were okay with imposing slavery on others, but they know for themselves that that's not the right thing to do. So all of us in our own journeys, we know that there are things that aren't right to impose on others, but we're okay with it because it's not happening to us. So when you become an officer, don't get intoxicated with new privileges or access that you gain, and make decisions that you would not tolerate as a regular student. So be a regular student as much as you can. That's my second advice. The third advice is remember that things will pass. Every time as an officer, there will be highs and there will be lows. And there will be stressful times and there will be very exciting times. And in all those things, just remember that things will pass, and whatever is happening doesn't define what the rest of tomorrow will be. Just, again, another quote that I like is by Socrates, and he said, "Remember that nothing in life is stable, so avoid undue elation in prosperity and undue depression in adversity." So, same message carries on to the new officers coming in. Remember that everything you do is important, but if something goes wrong or if something really awesome is happening, that's not the end of everything. So always keep a mentality of progression. And last, this is something I've been feeling recently as a departing officer, is to remember that you do not carry your position with you beyond just maybe the year or whatever, but you will carry relationships. So whatever you do, just make sure that you are fostering good relationships. Those are the things that will carry forever, or if you want them to carry forever, or if you don't have to. But just remember that the most important thing is the relationships you build, the friends that you make, the administrators that you meet, and the level of success you'll have as an officer will largely be determined with the relationships that you build as an officer and moving forward. So those are the 4 points that I wanted to talk about tonight, and the most important one being relationships. So I'm excited to see the new officers coming in and taking over, and I know it will be a great journey for all of you, and hopefully some of what I've shared can resonate and help you throughout your year. So that's my message. Okay. It will now be my privilege to turn the time over to Dr. James Morales. I'll just quickly introduce him. So Dr. James Morales is the Vice President of Student Affairs. Dr. Morales was appointed Vice President for Student Affairs at Utah State University in June 2009. He earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Speech Communication from the University of Utah and received his doctorate in Higher Education Policy and Administration from University of Minnesota. He is also a graduate of the Institute for Educational Management at Harvard University's Graduate School of Education. Prior to coming to Utah State University, Dr. Morales served for over 17 years in various admission, enrollment, management, and student affairs capacities in the University of Minnesota system and at the University of Connecticut. In addition, he has worked in human resource as a private sector consultant on workplace issues. Dr. Morales enjoys skiing, snowshoeing, running, biking, and spending time with his family. He is fluent in Spanish, Japanese, and is active in the university, community, and religious activities. So please help me welcome Dr. Morales.
So the running part has ended for me, unfortunately. I found out that I have mildly degenerative arthritis in my hip. So I've been running since I was 15 years old, and it's a kind of a new chapter in life that I have to shut that chapter down and open up a new one. And that's very similar to what we're experiencing here tonight. I want to offer my congratulations to our new USUSA student government officers. And thank you from the bottom of my heart to our outgoing officers. I am grateful for the time I was privileged to spend with each of these amazing young leaders during the past year, full of difficult COVID-related challenges. And I'm excited about the opportunities I will have during the coming year to work closely with our new team of officers. You know, I have 4 grandchildren. There are 2 boys and 2 girls. They range in age from the youngest being 4 and the oldest being 8 years old. And when they spend the night at Grandpa and Grandma's house, they always ask me to tell them a bedtime story. And each of my stories, which I make up right on the spot, begins with once upon a time. Typically, these are fairy tales, but they have a moral to each of these stories. And this evening, I'd like to tell you one of these stories. A story about 2 leaders. Once upon a time, there were 2 leaders. One cared deeply about the people he led. He began every day by praying and meditating in silence, seeking to receive direction from his higher power. He knew that if he closely connected with that higher power, that he could more effectively lead the organization and the people for whom he was responsible. When he arrived at the workplace, he spent his entire day walking around the work site, visiting with each of the employees. This wasn't just a trite practice, a management technique to help him gauge the productivity of his employees so he could devise and implement strategies to improve the output of the workers. In fact, he paid no attention, really, at all to how well they were doing as workers. As he walked around, he greeted each employee warmly and spent generous amounts of time learning how they felt and how they were doing, how they were really doing. He asked lots of questions about them, about their needs, their worries, their concerns at the moment. He also asked about their families and their lives in general. These were not the usual pleasantries that a boss would typically extend to his or her underlings. He really wanted to know about them, everything about them. And he seemed to remember everything about each employee, and the employees seemed to genuinely love him in return. Now, the other leader in this story did not leave her office once she arrived at her company's workplace. She walked into the building with her eyes glued to her cell phone, checking how the organization was faring in the stock market. Once inside her office, she opened her laptop and began reviewing the company's daily productivity charts, stopping only to open other tabs to research the current trends of the day for the industry within which her company competed for market share. She didn't have any time for breaks because there was so much information to digest, and the business landscape was so fast-paced and ever-changing that she knew if she did not devote her entire time to keeping her intellectual finger on the pulse of what was going on, the company's bottom line and its people, the employees and the shareholders, would surely suffer. When someone came into her office, she barely looked up to acknowledge them. In fact, she only did so to make sure they had brought her the right report, the information she so desperately needed to ensure that the company was moving forward in the right direction at the maximum pace. There was no question that she fully understood her company's competitive market environment. There was no tidbit of information that she did not have either in her mind or readily available at her fingertips. Then one day, something happened. A crisis arose that threatened the very existence of each company. The first leader gathered his employees in the largest warehouse on the company site and told them in calm, reassuring words that everything was going to be just fine. He had prayed fervently that morning and knew in his heart of hearts that if they all would just keep a positive mindset and be kind to each other, that everything would work out just fine. He circulated around the crowd of people, hugging them all warmly and smiling exuberantly as an expression of his deep confidence in the words he had just shared with them. He then returned to his office, shut the door, and sat down on his meditation rug, and within minutes was lost in a euphoric stupor. A few hours later, as the employees received report from external sources that the crisis was not abating, they knocked on his door, and when he answered, they showed him the reports and asked him what they should do, and more importantly, what was he going to do about the crisis? His reply was the same as before, that they should go about their business and not worry. The employees left with hearts as troubled as they had been when they knocked on his office door. Each of them began to think about the dismal prospects of what would happen if the company did not survive. How would they pay their mortgage? How would they feed their children? The second leader was aware of the crisis almost before anyone else knew about it. In fact, she had been tracking the numbers for the better part of the week So it came as no surprise to her that something extremely challenging was emerging. Her response was to dig even deeper into the data with the idea that somewhere in the volume of information, a solution to the problem would present itself. As she lost herself in the charts and numbers, a worried group of employees of the company knocked on her door. At first, it was only a soft, timid knock because they were afraid to disturb her. But when she didn't answer, their knocking became more frantic and urgent. Regardless of the urgency behind their efforts to get her attention, she did not come to the door. From her perspective, every second she wasted was one less second she could devote to finding the magical answer to the problem that was looming ominously before her company. The employees finally gave up and gathered together as one large group on the main floor of the company work site, dark, worried looks on their faces, many of them in tears. In the end, which of these two companies do you think weathered the storm best? The answer is neither of them did. In fact, neither survived. And why? Because the leader of the first company, the one who was so deeply connected to his higher power and who cared more than any other leader possibly could about his people, could never come up with the answers to address the threat to his company. The second leader came up with an ingenious answer, but it required the commitment of her employees. And when she finally came out of her office to present it to them, they were nowhere to be found. They had no confidence in her that she cared enough for them that she would actually do what was needed to ensure the company would make it safely through the crisis. Now, all good stories, of course, have a moral to them. The moral of this story is that the best and most effective leaders lead with their heart and they lead with their head. Emotional, spiritual, or goodwill energy and devotion to a cause or their people as a leader alone is not enough. On the other hand, intellectual capacity, brain power, or being savvy is not enough either. But when a leader learns to do both, to exercise faith in their own higher power, whatever that might be, who connects with the people they lead and develops strong relationships with them, and who is also intellectually prepared and capable to address the challenges their organization will face, this type of leader stands the greatest chance of being successful in good times and difficult ones. To you outgoing officers and to our incoming officers as well, I hope you'll remember this story. I hope you'll remember its moral. I hope that you'll practice leadership with both your heart and your mind. I promise you that if you do so, you will be successful as a USUSA officer throughout this coming year and also throughout the rest of your lives. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Morales, for that wonderful story. Dr. Morales has shared that with me in his office before, and I can tell you it resonates true, and he's one of those leaders who leads with his heart and mind. So thanks for that. All right. Now, it will be my pleasure now to invite every incoming officer to the stage. I'll call your name one by one, and you'll be coming here. And also, I'll be handing you your own individualized gift basket. So if you hear your name, please come up and take your seat and on the stage. Just make sure you fill the back rows first and then the front. Okay. All right. Our new series director, Ben Schaffner. Okay. Our activities director, Colton Fetzer. Okay. The new traditions director, Clara Alder. Okay. Our new administrative assistant, Madeline Alder. The College of Science Senator, Jonathan Mousley. Okay. The S.J. and Jesse E. Quinney College of Natural Resources Senator, Meridian Wappett. Okay. The College of Engineering Senator, Brittany Dickwa. The Emma Eccles Jones College of Education and Human Services Senator, Chloe Christopher. The College of Humanities and Social Sciences Senator, Celeste Rodriguez. The John M. Huntsman School of Business Senator, Drew Thorngren. The Kane College of Arts Senator, Sophia Thorngren. The College of Agriculture and Applied Sciences Senator, Cade Cox. The Graduate Studies Senator, Niyanta Chowdhury Magana. The Organizations and Campus Diversity Vice President, Emily Harmon. The Student Events Vice President, Alexis Needleman. The Athletics and Campus Recreation Vice President, Taylor Sampson. I always confuse myself with what process first. The Student Advocate Vice President, Ethan Conley. The Executive Vice President, Porter Kassadorf. Okay. And now I'd like to introduce the 2021-2022 Student Body President, Lucas Stevens. Okay, it will now be my privilege to swear in Lucas. Then after that, Lucas will swear in the incoming officers. So, Lucas, if you could join me up here. Okay, all right. If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Lucas Stevens,
Promise to uphold
promise to uphold
the student code and policies of Utah State University.
the student code and policies of Utah State University.
I also promise to uphold
I also promise to uphold
the Constitution of the Utah State University Student Association
the Constitution of the Utah State University Student Association
and to carry out the duties and responsibilities
and to carry out the duties and responsibilities
of my respective charter and office.
of my respected charter and office.
I will represent Utah State University
I'll represent Utah State University
in a manner that will promote a positive image
in a manner that will promote a positive image
and continued growth for all who attend and visit the campus.
and continued growth for all who attend its campus.
Congratulations, Lucas. You have your new student body president.
Thank you, Sammy. No longer President Ahmed. All right. How does it feel light? Do you feel freer? Is it weight off your shoulders? All right. I will now swear in the 2021-2022 Logan Campus USUSA officers. I ask that you all stand and raise your right hand. Please repeat after me. I state your name. Promise to uphold the student code and policies of Utah State University. I also promise to uphold the Constitution of the Utah State University Student Association and to carry out the duties and responsibilities of my respective charter and office. I will represent Utah State University in a manner that will promote a positive image and continue growth for all who attend and visit the campus. Thank you. Please cheer for your new USUSA officers. You may be seated. I realize that's probably not the best sound for me to clap into the microphone. I apologize. Okay, so I will now give a brief speech. First, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome the parents and special guests that attended. Thank you for being here in support of your kids and friends and these new officers. We would not be here without you. So why don't we clap for our support group. Also, I'd like to congratulate this new group of officers. I'm thrilled for what we can do in this coming year and what we will do. It's so fun to be here in person. In many ways, the officers last year, we didn't get the year we signed up for. It was elections and then spring break, and we came back, and by Wednesday, I think school was canceled, and they had, instructors had a few days to move us all online. That being said, I'm so thrilled for all that we'll do this coming year. I'll speak to three aspects of our tenure that I'm especially excited for. One being preserving and refining the Aggie experience, creating a more inclusive campus culture, and realizing the unity of all USU students on every campus. I heard this phrase today, and I really liked it. I think we're all familiar with the term "a new normal." Hopefully, now that we're hopefully moving towards a post-COVID world and a post-COVID university experience. But I loved this new phrase that I heard today, which is a better normal. And I hope to create a better normal. I hope as we, as student leaders, preserve and bring back traditions and events and push our initiatives, that we will move towards a better normal. As well, this year's group is tasked with rewriting all of our charters and basically redefining what it means to sit in our office. In many ways, we'll shape what the Utah State University Student Association will be moving forward. I'm very confident that responsibility is in good hands. I'm especially looking forward to working closely with inclusion, cultural, and diversity organizations on campus to help students from all backgrounds find a home on this campus and at our great university, as well as realize the Aggie family and help all students feel what I'm sure all of us have felt. As well, I would like to make it a focus of our tenure to make the third floor of the TSC an inclusive and inviting place. I look forward to us experimenting with ways to reach new students, informing them of the service, leadership, and resume building opportunities within our stewardship, as well as reaching the individuals. I really believe that the biggest impact we can have as student leaders comes on an individual basis, And that's not something that's usually celebrated at award ceremonies, and that's not something that we typically put on our resumes. But I still remember officers pulling me aside and giving me words of encouragement and being my friend throughout my time at Utah State. And that's had a greater impact on me than any legislation that's been written by USUSA. As well, I look forward to spending time with you, each of you on the third floor. I will accept any challenges for and bets on a ping pong game. I'll take your money. That's okay. Lastly, there are over 27,000 students enrolled at USU across the state of Utah. We're tasked with representing their views and desires to university administration and local government, as well as fulfilling our charters and carrying out initiatives that enrich their student experiences. I'm perhaps most excited for the unification of our student body from Tooele to Vernal and from Logan to Price. A revised constitution was approved on Logan and statewide campuses that I believe does just that. I look forward to working closely with statewide and EUSA officers, as well as students from around the state, to ensure that these changes are fully realized and all USU student voices are finally heard at the highest level of the university. Further, I'm thrilled that our academic senate's willingness to open up their council applications to statewide students and make the necessary accommodations to ensure their representation. Lastly, I'd like to leave you with a message of encouragement and self-determination. Our university grants us great influence to affect major change and innovation. Our advisors and administrators are on our side. Today, we begin our tenure as officers. You're now in the thick of things, and at times this game can be really difficult. It's so easy for spectators on the sidelines to take cheap shots at your character and criticize you without fully understanding your reasoning and how your decisions fit into the big picture. I encourage each of you to stay the course and stay optimistic. At the beginning of fall semester, I wrote an opinion column in The Statesman where I quoted William Henley's poem Invictus, and I'll recite a portion of that. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I know that we can unify the student body. We can create a more inclusive campus culture, and we can reach out to students that haven't previously been reached. I'm thrilled. Thrilled is an understatement. I don't have words to describe my feelings about what's to come from this group. I thank you in advance for all of your service, and thank you, and go Aggies. And that closes our meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
I usually don't because I'm like, for today I will. This better be one.